Okay, we continue the lectures on Chapter 8, Section 8.6, and this time we're going to do the waiting room size. So instead of the applicant go forward to the tester, we now successfully block the applicants in the registration area until the tester are available. So the next step, what we're doing is we're trying to illustrate or animate the waiting room area, which is we can see all the customers are waiting. First, what we do is we add a so-called storage element called waiting room, and then we create two processes. One is inserting the entity into this waiting room. The other one is remove. On this lecture, we also exercise using a detached queue animation to animate the waiting room area. So we're adding two processes. One is waiting room enter after processing at the server registration station, and enter the driving test or enter the picture. So all these three areas we need to send the customer into the waiting room. Also adding a remove from the waiting room when the applicants exit output of the registration before process after the driving test and before process of the picture, taking the picture. So, all right, let's do this in model. All right, this is the model we left off from 8.5. We're going to start using it. First thing we do is go to the elements section to add a storage. Okay, add a storage right here. We call this storage waiting room. Okay, this is the place we're going to store all the applicant while it's waiting. The next step, what we're going to do is adding two general processes. First, we call the enter waiting room. Enter waiting room. The other one we're going to call exit waiting room. Okay, these two processes. In the enter waiting room, we insert the entity itself into the queue. Adding to queue, and in the exit waiting room, we remove from the queue. Okay. The insert part, we just have to specify which queue I'm going to insert into. Of course, is the storage waiting room queue. We put it in. Remove is the same place. We're going to do is the storage to the waiting room queue. Okay, remove that. We can either insert and remove. Next couple of things is when we're going to insert this. We have customer go into the waiting room. As we said it before, after processing in the registration, when they enter the service driving test or enter the picture area. So let's do that. So for enter waiting room, we're going to go to registration. add-on process when after they process the applicant, so we're going to go into the wait room. Also in the drive test and the picture, whenever they enter, we're going to put them into the queue. Oh. All right. When they exit the waiting room, exit the waiting room, we see that before. When they exit this registration and before process in the driving test in the picture, let's do that. For this, fairly simple. We can easily put this over when they exit the waiting room, or I want to demonstrate this a little bit differently. Remember last 8.5, we trying to change this status to busy before processing. So after the customer or the applicant goes to the station, right before it got processed, we withdraw the applicant from the waiting room. So that's what we're trying to do. We can do that over here. Change status to busy, which is change status to busy. And then we can remove them. So how are we going to, from this process right here, start calling this process? We're using a command called execute. Okay, we execute which process? We say X the waiting room. So we can do it two different places. I'm just illustrating there is a way to do so within another process to call another process. So this is what we do. Also, as we see, right before they process these two in the driving and the picture station, we will call them two right before the process. We'll call this accelerate. All right. So, like we have pointed out before the process at the driving test and the picture section. So we started to do this already. Then we now can illustrate and animate this queue. So I'm going to adding a detached queue right here. Let's quickly illustrate that. For example, this is my waiting room area. Okay, drag a little bit down so you can see that. I'm going to like this, put in into orient the point. So all the point will be the customer facing to. So here I'm going to do that for now. Then I'm going to add a couple points. Just so illustrate. All right. And also maybe here a couple. All right. So what we do is we kind of align their direction. I want all the applicants face inside. example. All right. So, and then we say, okay, this queue we animating is actually the queue. We define it called a storage waiting room queue. All right, this is the queue. Let's see how this thing running. You see, the entities start lining up in the waiting room, and they go. Okay, when they actually, right before they uh, got processed, uh, after they're done with the registration, they join the queue, and also their driving test and the picture, they all have that process. So this is how we have a place for consolidate waiting room for 3 different workstation right after registration, before the written test and eye exam, um, when they join the driving test, and when they wait for the picture. And we can now even change this, for example, to some other character. For example, I want this. Um, the second one we're going to change to male, maybe. The third one change to cartoon boy. And in this case, you see I have 3 different type of customer using 3 different things. And then we start animated and look at it in 3D perspective. You will see customer facing in and line up in the waiting room. If we go faster. Okay, and then you see that, and after the simulation's done, they can actually line up like this. All right, this is kind of conclude our 8.6 section, and we continue with 8.7 in the next section.